When I started Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I was not expecting to be enchanted for the next 63 hours. The game swept me away with a beautiful and cohesive story with absurdly memorable characters. The Ragtag team was incredibly well crafted. Each acting performance was great, and the characters were something special. The entire world oozed with charm. I was so invested that come the end of the game, I wasn't quite ready to let go just yet. Future Connected is a unique and creative epilogue that, while not perfect, was just the send-off I needed for Shulk and Melia and the rest of the Xenoblade 1 world. While the short 10-hour runtime means that the story is far less complex and sprawling, it allows for a more creative and focused story. There wasn't room to be expansive, so everything was boiled down to its roots. But this does not imply simplicity. It just means that the time it takes is extremely focused, and Monolith Soft is able to create an impressively impactful story. I think the best way to look at Future Connected is to look back at Melia's arc in the base game. Melia suffers far more than the other party members. She loses her father, then her brother is killed as a High Entia pureblood race was exterminated and turned into Telethia. Her home is then overrun and ruined. The game also makes a point to show that she was hoping to be with Shulk, which was lost as Fiora returned to the party. But all this personal suffering does not defeat her. Melia is a resilient character. She puts her people first and maintains a grounded worldview. Future Connected, then, is a personal story for Melia. Her and Shulk set out to the Bionis Shoulder, where Alchemoth is drifted. They go to explore the area, as the presence of Alchemoth would imply that there were people living there. So they set out to explore, but are suddenly taken down by a laser shot from Alchemoth. Alongside Kino and Nene, two lovable Nopon who hid in the back of your ship, you set out to Companion's Cape, where you find some High Entia. In a way, it's a reunion for Melia, as she hasn't seen her people in such a long time. The Bionis Shoulder is a very pleasant and appealing landmass. There's a variety of areas with uniquely shaped cliffs and ravines. It's all pleasant to explore, and the inclusion of the prospectors gives you more reason to explore every nook and cranny of the world. Monolith Soft is not afraid of taking risks, but with this epilogue they still decided to be experimental, and a lot of this experimentation works surprisingly well. Being a more personal journey, one far from the epic fate of the world odyssey of the base game, this game is a lot more laid back. Leveling up happens much quicker, and the jazz-inspired battle music is much less dire and chaotic than the original battle music. This all serves to get you through the journey with as few kinks as possible, which helps the pacing of the story in general. While the pacing isn't perfect, it's generally fairly successful, especially considering the size of the story is new to Monolith Soft. You're fairly quickly introduced to the Fog King, a fog-built beast living inside of a ravaged Alchemoth. This ruined Alchemoth reflects the destruction that the High Entia faced. It's a very dim sight, and to Melia, the presence of a monster dominating her land is a cruel sight. Her home has been overrun and ruined, but thanks to Teelin, a High Entia child, there is research on how to potentially defeat such a beast. This introduces the main conflict of the world, that being a conflict between the people of Grandel and the companions of Companion Cape, with Galgar suggesting Melia is unfit to rule over the new age of High Entia. The High Entia purebloods were in constant danger of mass extinction, as they turned into Telethia when faced with high doses of ether. Galgar takes this to mean that half-bloods, or mixed-blood High Entia, were innately superior. Considering her brother was a pureblood, Melia strongly opposes this, to the point of conflict. In an attempt to maintain sovereignty of mixed-blood High Entia, Galgar destroys Teelin's research. However, Melia is able to save just a bit of it, just enough to have a fighting chance against the Fog King. As this all is happening, the rift from which the Fog King lived began to expand. It began to possess the animal life on the shoulder. Melia and Shulk fight back alongside the people of Grandel, including Teelin's guardian Tyrea, but it's far too much for them. The companions had a lasting conflict after a falling out between them and the people of Grandel, one which was sparked by Machina conflict and hatred. But there is no other choice for Grandel. They need help. So Shulk and Melia set out for aid. In the face of life and death, The companions agree to push forward for a unified future without conflict, and they join the people of Grandel in battle. Just in time, they make their way back and fight the possessed monsters as Shulk and Melia set out once more, this time to fight the Fog King. Thanks to Tielin's research, they have the means for victory over the Fog King, and after preparations, it's finally their time. It's a very personal battle for Melia. It was her fate to rule over the High Entia, a fate that was assumed lost, but suddenly it's alive again. There's a hope for her again to seize her own destiny. She could save her home and lead the future for people and benefit the world as a whole. Tielin's research proves effective, as the Fog King is taken down. As this happens, Shulk reaches to Melia, the future finally being safe. Melia is finally free to rule her people and lead a new era of life on the Bionis and Mechonis. After defeat and defeat, facing countless losses, Melia finally gets to live her fate, a fate she so desperately hoped for. She has a purpose in life and is able to avenge her family and live out her father's promise. Melia is the hope of the High Entia, and she finally gets to live this out. Future Connected is not a perfect epilogue, not remotely, and some of the complaints are justified. The Fog King is a very generic monster. The side quests can definitely be a bit grindy. The pacing definitely could have also been fine-tuned. However, I believe this is a worthy ending to the first Xenoblade game. While the ending of Future Connected isn't the emotional powerhouse ending of the base game, I don't think it takes away from that. The Future Connected ending is an additive one. It only improves on the base ending, in no way replacing it. Instead, we are given an ending where everyone finally has their purpose in life discovered. They can finally realize the destiny they seized with Zanza's death.